Okay, here we go. Well, welcome everybody in, everybody who's downloading, listening in their cars and all those kind of things. I did find out something that this is called a webcast, not a podcast. So I learned that because I didn't know what the hell to tell this after we started having to do the video stuff. So yes, we are back for our monthly webcast. Super excited to have our guest to join us today, and we'll touch base of why this was even more of a challenge to have him here today than in the other time. So, Anthony, if you could introduce yourself for us.
Anthony Rowett, a captain with Mobile Fire Rescue in Mobile, Alabama. Get to travel around with Todd, teach with our other guests a little bit sometimes. So excited about what we're going to talk about today, and I think everyone's got a different viewpoint on it. So I think that's going to bring a good conversation.
Yes, I think so. And then Todd Edwards retired out of city of Atlanta after 30 plus years, and just kind of the same thing. Just fortunate and blessed enough to get to travel and teach with guys like Anthony and our guests and a whole host of other yahoos. A lot of them that are going to be that we'll get to see this week. So without further ado, go ahead, Sean.
Hey, how are you guys? My name's Sean Duffy. I work for the city of Ann Arbor here in Michigan. I also run the Great Lakes Hot Fire Conference and co-owner of Build Your Culture LLC. So I've got plenty to keep me busy, more than I would like sometimes.
Well, and that's why when we were getting down here, me and Rowett were discussing guests, and I said, hey, I want to bring Sean on, and then not even thinking about, this dude may be a touch busy. For people who are going to be listening when this episode drops, Great Lakes Hot will be over for this year. A lot of us are going to be coming in over the next couple of days up into the Michigan, into the Detroit area for the conference, which starts this week. And I'm super excited to be a part of it again this year. And so, yeah, we want to thank you, Sean. I know how insanely busy it is. You know, you're down to ground zero time, D-Day time for your conference. So I know there's 1,000 things going on. I just heard your phone vibrate in the background. That's probably going to happen a few times.
It's nonstop.
Yes. So, and that really kind of led us into our subject matter today. And myself, and I think Captain Rowett, and I've had this conversation with a bunch of guys over the last 2 years about all the micro conferences, and like every other week I see a new Facebook page for down and dirty truck school 501, just a whole host. And then there's these training companies and conferences. And so I thought it'd be kind of an interesting topic to get the take on, our takes obviously of fire conferences and running, a training company. That seems like every other week there's a new training company coming up online or coming up on Facebook or Instagram and all the other stuff. So let me start with Sean. Let's just start with Great Lakes Hot, Sean. And obviously I know how it kind of came about, but tell me how you've been able to grow it so rapidly. Because it literally, the first year, I think we had 50 dudes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
where you're at today with the multiple hotels, multiple training sites, ungodly great speakers coming in. But how did all this kind of take off for you? How did you approach all this?
That's a great question. So I was accustomed to like how things were in Florida, where I came from, which, I mean, between Fools chapters and conferences, I mean, there's just something going on all the time. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really know how spoiled I was having that in my own backyard. So when I moved to Michigan, of course, I was like, hey, where are all the training events? Like what goes on here? And there really wasn't any. I mean, there's the instructor conference every year, and there's like, our state has classes that they put on through their system and things like that. But as far as conferences, like hands-on, there was nothing. And I was just like, I remember about that time, I was like, well, I got a fix for this. And I reached out to you. I was like, I have this crazy idea. I think I want to do this. And we did, right? That was the first year. I think that was like 2021 or maybe 22, somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. Yes, sir.
And, like you said, we're at this like janky hotel, just trying to get things done.
Janky. We'll call it unique.
Unique. Yeah. There you go. That's a better word. So we did that, and there's like 50 people. My intent was that we would do this for firefighters in our state, like this help promote training within our state. And I would bring all of my friends that I got to meet through traveling and teaching and have them come give their classes here. Cause like there's outside instructors that come in, but having like the FDIC instructors and, some of the people that are out there on the circuit that people want to see, they can't always afford to go to those places. So the solution was like, I'll just bring them to you. And, that's received pretty well. So we went into year two. Year two went to like 150 people, mostly all Michigan. Now we're at year 4, which we have like 320 people. And we went from 1 hands-on site the first 2 years to now we have 7 different hands-on sites. We have 9 different classes. We're doing live fire at multiple different locations. Like you said, multiple different hotels. It's crazy how quick it's grown and the need for it. What's cool is that it's still primarily Michigan firefighters. Mm-hmm. Like over 70% of our registrations are still from this state.
Oh, wow. That's good. I did not know that many. That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's up there. Like the interest is continuing to grow. But what's actually really cool is that aside from the state, we're actually now like multinational. We got people from Canada, and this will be the first year that we have people all the way from Australia coming to take classes. Wow. So
good.
Yeah, it's done well, but managing it is another thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think kind of backtracking a little bit, that first year, I've never lived in Michigan. I didn't know anything about the fire service in Michigan. I just assumed it was, everybody was like Detroit, go to fires and have fun and all that. And I think both of us learned some really hard lessons that first year that we're like, oh my God, we really don't know how this place works and how all this has to come together. So definitely you and your wife and all the guys that have been helping you the last couple of years, highly commend what you guys have taken a very fledgling small little event and grown to this. So kudos to you guys, man. It's outstanding what you guys have been able to put together, you and your wife. And I know she takes the brunt of having to do a lot of stuff. And in between time, you're playing hockey, going to the firehouse, and then you send to make a baby like every other conference too. So
yeah, you got to do something when you're bored, I guess,
So good. And Anthony, while you have some time for everybody that's listening, Captain Rowett is dealing with 2 sick kids right now and a new dog, so his plate's a little full in the background there, and so hopefully he can answer some of the questions today. But obviously the Fair Hope event, I know you do some other stuff and some smaller, regional stuff with the National Training Foundation that you've got up and running now, but let's just kind of talk about Fair Hope, because that seems to be, that's kind of the staple. That's kind of your cornerstone event that you manage and had really put together, and how that's, changed and grown over the last several years that you've been doing that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, it started out very similar to what Sean's talking about. And it's not that there was, like when he was living in Florida, this abundance of Fools chapters and conferences to go to. It was our proximity to Florida, how close we were to Pensacola, and all the conferences that go on there. And then also we're just a 4.5, 5 hour drive from Atlanta, and we had guys going to MAFC. So there was that culture there, but it was also not a strong culture in our department itself, because we were one of the biggest departments in the state, a pretty busy department for the region, that not really getting out of your bubble. And the more you go out and talk, a lot of the guys, they deal with that, the just not getting out of your bubble if your department's getting a lot of work, that don't necessarily see the need to go learn someone else's tactics, or try to see what they're doing to see if there's a way to evaluate what you're doing to be better, because you're doing it a lot and it's working. So we were really just trying to figure out, like, how do we get more people to go? How do we expose more people to this so we can always make sure we're being the best we are, or best we can be? And it came up with the idea between 3 of us at the firehouse to do the Fair Hope class, where one of our guys was a volunteer. And, we reached out to you to start it the first year, and it started from you doing an 8-hour lecture to what we do now, and 2 days of live fire and multiple burn buildings on the site. I mean, for a volunteer fire department, their training site is pretty incredible. And I mean, they knocked down a 2-story burn building this year to build a 3-story for next year. I mean, it's pretty incredible what they'll do to be a part of it, because they love having Fairhope be a part of that. And they take a lot of pride in it, that they're the oldest department in their county and they're providing a opportunity to bring training to their region. And but it grew from a lecture with like 50 people there to what we do every year, which has ranged from about 60 to 70 firefighters taking the class, and we just don't let it get above that. And we try to keep it as cheap as we can through having that foundation that it's a part of. And we somehow, just bring more instructors every year, and we keep lowering the student to instructor ratio. I think we're almost down to about 2-to-1 at this point. But it makes sure everyone gets everything out of it. And it's just become something that is really all of ours locally, and a lot of guys that are a part of it, favorite weekend every year to come down there. One, the Fairhope experience, we've got set places we hang out and we know people there, and it's just a good time, but also just the environment of having that many people in one place for this small, close to the heart class. Cause really you get to know everybody there by the end of that weekend, because we do keep it so small to keep that, that experience the way it's been popular. That we were at FDIC this year, and people were asking us, when are you going to release when you're doing it again next year? Who are you bringing next year? And so because it's been so popular, we don't really want to change anything up. I think a little easier for us on the logistics side than what Sean deals with. Everything's at one site. Everything we put everybody in one hotel, and makes it pretty easy. Less people coming in, but less logistical needs, but also just a really good team that puts it together, because it's not just us. Those Fairhope guys, they bust their butts all year long to get that place ready. And logistically, the difference between us and what Sean deals with is we deal with making sure the instructors get there, and they take care of everything else. We get the instructors there and the equipment we're going to use, and they handle everything, the build out, everything, supplies, they take care of it. So it's definitely a little easier on us than what Sean's discussing because of that. But that's that we've been working with the same people, I think, going on like 7 years now. And just the pride they take in it. They're so bought into it, and what it's doing for their community. And it's just, like Sean said, the headaches can be there with the logistics, but at the end of the day, we've seen a change, not just to our community because we live locally, but the amount of people in our department going to it, that we're seeing things come back and show up on our fire grounds. So that was our ultimate goal. So to us, by the time that class is over, we're sitting there like, do we really want to do this next year? And by the next day, we're like, yeah, what's the dates? There's no way we're not going to do it. But it's satisfying to see that you brought something successful to your area, and the younger guys on your job showing up and taking something from it. And I mean, you've seen for our job, I mean, we've had assistant chiefs show up before, chief of departments show up to watch their guys training and show support for them. And we've seen some of our senior 25 plus year guys be there, and they've got a lot of experience. They're there supporting the new guys. Sometimes they've been in there in the class. They've showed up to help volunteer. Sometimes they just showed up for lunch because they were 2 35-year guys on the job, and they had some of the members of their crews going through the class. So they showed up to eat lunch with them and show them, we support you, and this is important that you're taking the pride in your job. So it's just been very satisfying personally for us that started it locally, for the impact we've been able to see in our region. So
yeah. I think I want to give Sean an opportunity to kind of, and I'll just be honest, I want you to brag a little bit. And because when I was going through the list this morning, even I was looking at, obviously the airport list and the hotel list, and I'm going through these names going, holy crap. I mean, we're not talking about bringing in, Joe Bob from Pork and Beans somewhere. You've got some real heavy hitters coming in. And for the guys who, maybe don't know about the conference, be a great opportunity. I want you to drop some of just name drop for me for a little bit there, Sean. Some of the names you got coming this year, and how, kind of how you got that. How are we at this point that, man, you're banging out some big time people here?
Yeah. So again, I've been fortunate enough to meet some incredible people throughout the years, teaching and just lending hands places, and you're amazed what people are willing to do to put on a good training event. Obviously there's a cost regardless, but people are willing to help you out because they want to see They want to see your event succeed, which is tremendous for us, right? Because I don't care how big your training is, like there's always a budget. You could say it's free training, but there's still costs involved, and so having people that can work with you on that is huge. This year we got lucky. I'll just say what it is. The lineup, we've got Dave McGlynn coming in. We've got Mark Van Oppen coming in. Arthur Ashley and his crew are coming in to do truck stuff. Nick Peppard and his guys are coming in. And aside from people that are speaking, like Jeff Rothmeyer, and just like, I'm going to forget somebody if I keep dropping the list of names, but there's just so many incredible people that are like, hey, we want to be a part of this. And what was crazy is when I'm trying to build the list of like, hey, this is what the students say on their evals of who they want. This is kind of what, I think the area needs. These instructors mostly have reached out to me. They're like, hey, when is call for papers? And I'm like, we don't have one. It's basically just like, as I get, a list of people that I think would be good, I start asking. And so that alone has been awesome. In the fact that like, sometimes I don't even have to ask. They reach out and they're like, we want to be part of it next year. Yeah. So like Aaron Fields, he wasn't even supposed to be speaking. He was doing his nozzle forward program, and just in conversation, he's like, hey man, I'm going to be there already. Why don't I just do a drilling for function class for you? And we made that happen, and it's just kind of like those things that make everything come together. It's a really cool experience.
Yeah, I'm excited about it because I'm going to be there early enough to I'll have time to actually hear some speakers and still get my site ready and all that. So, I'm super stoked about being able to hopefully sit in and get a little bit of training myself while I'm up there this time. So Aaron Fields, you got Cody coming. Obviously, I'm a monster fan of McGlynn. I'm a monster fan of Arthur Ashley, and I don't want all the names, all the guys that got coming in. Pretty much rock starring it. So, and Row, I think kind of same for you, man. Some of the guys you've brought in, like last year, was absolutely amazing. The year before, you had, Pressler there and Mickey Farrell from FDNY, and obviously the legend himself from FDTN was there with us this past year, which was just truly an honor and a privilege to train side by side and instruct side by side of somebody of that caliber. So. Yeah, and how do you kind of make that decision? If somebody's looking and saying, I want to do a local conference, obviously Sean's got the pedigree and the connections as well as you do, but how do you make those decisions? How do you decide who you're going to bring year in and year out? Yeah,
so for me, it's kind of like Sean said, and I get emails a lot like, hey, I got this class or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, we don't do submissions for it, especially the Fairhope class. We 100%, 3 of us sit down that started this thing that are local, and we go, man, what do we think would be good for the area this year? And then we sit down and we have our core group of people we bring every year, and then we try to figure out based on the topic who we should bring the following year. So I was really stoked for this year to have Pressler and Jim McCormick there at the same time, and it just didn't work out with some health stuff, but it sounds like Bob will come back next year, and then we're still trying to figure out based on we're going to have a brand new burn building. So we're going to sit down with the plans of the burn building and say, okay, what do we really want to have going on? And then we'll pick that last instructor or last 2 instructors based on what kind of drills we decide we're going to be doing. So that's kind of how we've done it is we've looked at it. Are we going to have an engine and truck year? All right, well, we need this many engine guys and this many truck guys. Are we going to have a firefighter survival thing? Okay, well, then we've got Mickey as a core guy that does teach firefighter survival for FDNY at the Rock, but he can't do it all by himself. Let's bring some RIT guys in. Or we're going to have Mickey doing truck. Okay, who do we want him with? And we've done it where, okay, we're going to do search. Let's have him and Pressler. So you're getting search from the hallway, search from the window, both from an FDNY perspective. It fits good, but you're getting 2 sides of it. And we've just tried to work it that way of 3 of us sit down and go, man, who do we want to bring in based on what we're trying to do for the year and make the best event we can out of that. And then we kind of backfill the other things. So we pick that for that big hands-on every year, but we do 10, 11 other things locally through the foundation that are free lectures every year, or about once a month that we give away. So we try to make sure we hit those topics we didn't hit in the hands-on by bringing heavy hitters of those topics, for lectures and giving them away throughout the year, so that we are making sure we bring everything we can to the people in the local area to help them. But we can only do so much in that class and keep it with what we want it to be, that we got to pick topics. And then we just sit down and we pick based on that. And basically the way we've done it is we got 3 people local. This is going to truly impact the 3 of our communities. Those 3 people will pick who's coming, because they're going to be the ones really impacted by it locally, even though it's not just local guys. I mean, we've had people come from Illinois. We've had people come from New Mexico, all over the country for that class. It is still a major local impact. So we let the local guys kind of sit down and discuss what topics, and then let's figure out who we're going to bring in based on that.
I think the only reason I wanted that kind of come out, because I want guys to understand that maybe they're new, newer guys on the job, and they're looking. I had this question. I was just down in Washington, North Carolina, the last couple of days, training down there. And a bunch of young guys were asking me, where can I go get more training like this? And I started, dropping out conference names, and, obviously FDIC is always brought up, but, I think some of those younger guys, they need that Fairhope type of class, or that Great Lakes Hot type of training, where it's not overwhelming and there's more time involved with the instructors, and being able to do a little bit more of the hands-on, where they get a little more one-on-one time if they need it. And so I think those are real positives when we talk about these smaller conference events throughout the country. And I think one of the really cool things that I've seen over the last 2 years is how supportive Chief Rhodes is, and FDIC really are promoting the smaller conferences, because they understand, they're a once a year gig. Guys can't, at one time back in the day, that's all we had was FDIC. So today the new firefighters have just options after options, and not after options, to actually go out and see the same guys all over the country. So I think those are so many great positives. So we really have only talked about the positives. Give me your 3 top, the dark side of holding or conducting a fire conference. I have mine, but give me your 3 off the top of your head, Ro. 3 of the dark side of, oh my God, why are we going to try to do this shit again?
One is just the stress on your family it puts. It does take a lot of time. And like I said, I have the blessing of, when we put that Fairhope class on, I really don't have much logistics I have to do. It's a 45-minute drive to that site from my house. I don't go out there much. It's maybe once. Typically in like September, I give them a list of what we want to do, and that's it. They just give me updates as they get it done. But it is still a lot of time on the phone, a lot of time on emails, getting everything coordinated with everybody, and that is time away from your family. So obviously that's the biggest one, because it's time away from your family. The other one is there is going to be some hate. And it's going to be for different reasons. I mean,
I love watching Sean going.
and it's going to be for different reasons. Sometimes you'll have, and sometimes I don't know why someone doesn't want someone from the outside coming in locally. But if it's why do you think we need this or whatever? But there is going to be people that, are against it, and you're trying to do something good for the area. And reality is you're going to have some people that probably want to go, that it's going to be best for them. They're going to go learn something, and they don't go because someone told them they shouldn't, or they don't want to be talked about for being there, being too into the job, all that kind of stuff. So you do deal with that. And then it can put some stresses on friendships as well, because you are relying on each other a lot, and everyone's got stuff going on in their life, and everyone's expecting things to get done on time. And when it doesn't, you end up going at it with each other. So you can't pull it off on your own. It does take a team. So to me, you got to be pretty tight, because you are going to put stresses on those friendships as you try to pull this off. Because nobody I know that's doing these things is doing it to get rich. Most of them, when they do these things locally, they're probably losing money, or they're investing their own. Especially by the amount of time they put into it, they're losing a lot more than they're personally gaining from it. Because most guys they're sitting back doing a lot of the logistical work during the event, and they're missing a lot of it just to make sure everything gets done. Like I remember last year up at Sean's thing, just making sure lunch was right. I mean, I remember him running ragged, just getting that done. So he's not getting to stop by and see his event going on. So it does that. You got to rely on a lot of people. And if you guys aren't pretty close about it and can be honest with each other, it can put a stress on that as well. So,
yeah. Sean, same question, the dark side of running the show there.
So I'm going to mimic a lot of what Anthony said, because all of that is true, especially the relying on each other. Like nobody wants to see something fail. So when you reach out to somebody and you're like, hey, I need you to do this, and you're anticipating it getting done, and then you get the bad news of, hey, I couldn't do it, or hey, I'm not having success, and like you're weeks out or a few days out, and you're like, oh my God, I got to fix this. That becomes a you problem, right? Like, well, ultimately you're the one that's running it. So everything comes back to you to fix, which is incredibly stressful. But outside of that, I think logistics, that's a huge thing. Like not just getting things organized, but like talking to the hands-on sites, because some of them want to be involved, but maybe they haven't organized training to this. I don't want to say caliber because that kind of sounds rude, but they haven't organized training of this kind yet.
Right. No, I think caliber to this level is spot on though. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I mean, it's a lot of moving parts, right? Like you're not talking about showing up, throwing 3 pallets into a building and lighting a fire and say, let's do engine company ops. Like
right.
You need hose, you need nozzles, you need this. And then of course they're always like, well, why do you need all these instructors? We have our own. And then they're going to want to charge you to use their people. And it's just a lot of back and forth of like getting people on board to understand, like, this is what needs to happen. Can you work with me? Can you not work with me? The other two thing for me, or the number 2 thing for me, is helpers. And that's twofold. You get a lot of people that want to help, but then when they realize like what's entailed, maybe they don't want to help so much anymore. So like everyone wants to be a part of it until you're like, I need you to do X, Y, Z. And they're like, oh no, I didn't think it was going to be like that. Yeah. The other part of helpers is like everybody wants to teach, and that's not possible. Like you've got to fill all these roles, like site leads. You got to fill like volunteers to reset props and do things like that. And it's like you have this team of people, and you're like, hey man, I'm sorry, you're not coming in to teach. You're coming in to help me run this. So that's a challenge. But budget, I think, would be my third. There's always something that blows your budget, right? That maybe you overlooked or something didn't go right. Like just recently we had lunches, we paid for lunches. They were supposed to be delivered on the 13th. Jimmy John's decides to deliver them yesterday. And you're like, oh my God, that's, $600 in food that you just delivered. Well, guess what? They're not going to eat that cost. So that's comes straight out of our budget that we weren't planning. So point of the matter is like, this is like going back to Anthony's point, like constant work. Like you're constantly like doing the budget, reevaluating is what we're doing working? Do we need to adjust things? And your spouse, your friends, like all of that are in the mix with you, feeling every inch of pressure that you feel.
Yeah.
So you got to have a good support system.
Yeah. And I think, the ones that I still manage were when we're done next week or this week in Michigan, immediately turn and burn and head straight to North Spartanburg. We're doing our skills under fire. We're doing a version of that here in Michigan, but we're doing a more expansive, a bigger version of it the following week in North Spartanburg. So we tend to manage these, I almost call them pop-up conferences. Department wants to come in, or we'll find a place we want to host something at. And our numbers, we keep in that 50 range, 60 range. Well, this one didn't meet all the numbers yet. So that's a cost. Those are, for guys that think this is just a walk in the park, they just throw out a flyer and everybody just magically appears and signs up, and different regions have different outcomes. Alabama has been very successful. Georgia, not as much. It was our first time doing something over here in South Carolina, and we did not sell fully out, which was a little surprising. I mean, our numbers are phenomenal, but yeah, that's a budget hit. And so we absorb the budget, me and my wife do on that. So the instructors are my priority first, but their rooms and their travel and their pay is addressed first. Sometimes there's a little left over and sometimes there's not. And, for guys who are thinking about, man, let's do this, there's a lot, the positives do outweigh the negatives. They really do. But you have to address, there's so many little incidental things, just water. You can't have, training in June and not be able to hydrate these guys. You can't have, we do social events, but social events, and where is that going to be at? Does the restaurant know you're bringing about 80 dang drunken firemen to their bar that night? Lunches. Good God, I cannot believe how complex it is to feed 50 dudes or 50 or 70 dudes or 100 plus guys. It's amazing, all the little layers there. So my end advice to that would be, reach out. Don't just run an event without talking to people who have run. Really, people have run a lot of events. Being with CFT now for going over 11 years and really handling all the logistics for like the last 6, there's always something that pops off. I don't have an apparatus for that day, or I don't have enough apparatus. Oh shit, I'm short 3 standpipe kits. And there's always, it's like this the whole time. The minute I walk into the Hilton Hotel in Pensacola, it is nonstop till the minute we leave. Until we break down the last prop, it is a nonstop adventure. And we're blessed to have guys. I mean, just an incredible team of guys that come every single year and build props and don't ask for a damn thing. And all they want to do when they're not working is they want to work. And they, hey, what do you want us to do today? Nothing. You're off. Go to classes. Oh, I just went to that class. I want to go do that. Dude, go do something else and go sit on the beach. So we're lucky to have that. It's a great problem to have. And the guys helping me in Spartanburg are great guys. I don't have to. All I got to do is say, hey, I need this done. And they're really solid about doing that kind of stuff. But we keep it small for that reason on the logistics side. So, yeah, I recommend you try it, but I also recommend be prepared. If you think you're going to pad your bank account with an $80,000 payday, you are way misinformed. If you think you're going to make any money, you may be misinformed. Goal is always to break even. And if we make a couple $100, then I'm totally happy with that. But I never set out on any of these gigs going, oh man, this is going to be a nice little $7,000, $8,000, $10,000. Nope. That's not going to happen.
No. And I don't think people understand that, because like people look at what the cost of registration is, but yeah. I don't think they truly understand why registration is that much. Right.
Right.
It's not like, oh, well, if we charge $500, then we get, $10,000 at the end. It's not like that at all. It's everything that the students want, whether it be shuttles or, an event, like a social, or the quality of training, right? Alone, like all of that has a cost. And the goal is to keep it as low as possible for the student. But at the same time, the conference can't run without 2 things. It can't run without people registering, and it can't run without registration fees being a certain number. And like so for like our conference, it's 4 days. The students get a dinner on us the night that they show up, right? Like that's on us. Thank you for coming and making this possible. This is our appreciation to you. They also get lunch every day of hands-on training, right? Those are costs that we have to account for. So in order to provide with a good experience, a good training experience that you want to come back to and keep it affordable, there's a range, right? And that's what I try and tell people is like, yeah, you're looking at, 500, whatever the number is, and you're looking at 150, 200 students, and you've got this number in your head. But what you don't know is all of the wood that needs to be cut up, for training, fuel for chainsaws that we're doing, like all of that, like it all comes from some place, right? So it's you're not making any money. In fact, I can't speak for everybody, but like often I put several $1,000s of my own money into the event just to make sure that we can provide the students with what they want.
Yeah. And you said something a little while ago, Sean, that I thought was really, and I wrote it down. And the reason I wrote it down is I thought it was so spot on with how these things really are and how they really work. And you said you have guys like, especially on the instructor side, that want to help. It's not a matter of, hey, I'm going to go help because I'm getting paid. They actually want to come and help teach and make the event successful, obviously, and to solely just help, whatever firefighters are signed up for their program, and I think that is such a cool thing that you said it that. I don't think the way you said it was dead right. These guys want to come and help. And I think Anthony's done a great job the same way. I think that I've maintained that standard with our team, that if you're just here just to hang out, you can't work for me. You can't work with us if you're just here to hang out and get a cool t-shirt and, maybe, make yourself look good. And, we say this all the time. When the students get to our site on Thursday or on Friday, the first words out of my mouth are going to be, we work for you now. We're going to go as many roles you guys want to go. If we need to be burning at 7:00 tonight because somebody doesn't have something, then we're going to go till 7:00. We don't care. Our goal is about helping that, if it's one guy. It's this one guy. We were in Alabama a couple of years ago, and we had a whole group that really was struggling with an evolution. And we're talking, it's 8:30 at night now, and we have to set that building up again for them. But that's I think what you bring to the table. I think that's what the instructors are bringing to the table. The real instructors are not going, well, it's 4:00. Got to go. Sorry. This is what we're paid for, is only till 4:00. There's no stop time. The stop time stops when the students stop. That's my opinion. I think I pretty much can speak on that for Anthony and you too. I think we all feel that way. I think knowing the majority of your instructors you got coming, they all feel that way too. If it's about you, you probably shouldn't be damn teaching in the first place.
Yeah, it's a team effort. That's the other thing that, like you mentioned earlier, like there's so many pop-up conferences and things like that, which that is phenomenal. I absolutely love it. People ask, they're like, aren't you worried about competition? I'm like, there's no competition here. Like, and if that's your mindset, then you're 100% doing this for the wrong reasons. The goal here is that we provide firefighters with opportunities throughout the year, whoever this putting on this training, that we provide consistent information, right? That doesn't matter where you are in the country or wherever you're coming from, that we can at least all come together in like a think tank, is what I like to call it, of like, what is best practice? What is currently being taught? Like the person delivering that, I don't care who that is. It doesn't bother me. So, 100% those people that are doing that in these little micro conferences, majority of them are like, hey, we're going to help you. Like we just did a class last week and this student was afraid of ladders, like deathly afraid of ladders. And we took one of the instructors and we said, hey, you take her and go over there and work on her until she's comfortable with ladders, because this afternoon she's going to have to climb them. And I'll tell you what, it was amazing to watch, like not only the amount of dedication that the instructor is pouring into the student, but the appreciation from that student to realize like, this isn't just a payday or something like that. Like these people that are here actually give a shit about you doing a good job, because when the tones drop, whether it's today, tomorrow, a week from now, like it's you. There's nobody there to help. Like you are making those decisions, right? And I'll tell you, in the afternoon, we were doing the thing. Did not hesitate. Up that ladder she went and made that rescue. Like I don't even think she noticed like how quick she was on air up that ladder, like, and those are the things that I feel like most of us are in this for. Mm-hmm. Like that's the moment. You can't put a price tag on any of that.
Yeah. And, so that kind of leads in, like you were just saying about where you're just at, for the, maybe some of the guys that have started their own instructor company or cadre or whatever you want to call it, or maybe some guys that are thinking about it. I think some of the points that we're discussing right now, should be very, eye-opening to a degree. I never once intended to have like, a so-called, company. It was more, the tax guy said I had to do something besides just my name. So that's the only reason it really kind of came this way. But what are some of the things you've seen, Anthony? Because I know you have some personal experiences. And I know that one guy that actually said some things about what we do, in front of other people. And I actually have a copy of that. I use it in a slide because of his feelings about that. It's, our safety over the civilians and, outside teachings are wrong and all this crazy shit. What are some of the downsides you've seen with some of these pop-up companies, not conferences, just these, we're a training company from, wherever, Pebble Beach, Alaska, just making up some shit.
Yeah. I think it starts with what Sean said about the conferences. It goes to the companies too, especially like if you're lucky enough to be around and kind of came up through it with the right people, that it is no competition because it's about the end goal. And it's about people learning. So it's not really a competition thing. But you do see some of that with some of it. It's constantly popping up and it's trying to figure out how to go teach here, how to go teach there. But I mean, to me, it's to each his own. I mean, to me, there's kind of a place for everybody because, yeah, I can teach engine stuff, but there's stuff that engine work I don't do. So a lot of the rural stuff I don't do. I tell people, like, if you want to know about dump tanks and all that, I'm not like, that's not me. I've never done it. To me, there's a benefit to it in a way because you have a lot of different experiences being shared that not maybe everybody, shares. I don't have those experiences that some people have. And, but also by having a bunch of them, I think the hard part of it, the negative to it is the ability to vet who's sharing the information and where it's coming from. When there's a bunch of different organizations teaching it, it's hard to see where their experiences are coming from, if they're teaching their experience or they're just regurgitating something. Cause that's to me is I want you to teach me your experience. I don't really care where it came from. Teach me your experience and I can see, how you learn that experience, how that translates to where I work. Maybe it does translate, maybe it doesn't, but I want you to teach me from your experience. Like I could read the book myself. And I think that gets lost when there's just a vast amount and that people are having to pick from versus actual, being able to vet it very easily when there's not quite as many.
Okay. Sean, same kind of that same, in that same ballpark there about, everybody having a training company now.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony did a spot on job there. What I will add to that is don't just teach to teach. I don't understand anybody I know that as a teacher did not seek this out. This was not something they woke up and says, I think I want to do this. Like this is all just something that kind of evolved because of their passion for passing things on or maybe their experiences. Like they had an experience. They're like, I need to tell people about this because if I've had it, I'm sure someone else has. Or if this was a bad experience, maybe I want to prevent others from stepping into that same hole, right? If you're teaching just to teach, you're not doing yourself or the fire service any favors. Like that's the big thing. And like, I don't care what your vision is of like what makes you successful or something like that. What makes you successful is just being genuine. Right. Like Anthony said, like teach what you know. It's okay to say, like, I don't know. Like Cody Trestrail has taught me so much stuff. And when I pass that on, I tell them like, this is not coming from me, Sean. This is coming from my friend Cody, who had this experience that shared this with me. And I think this is like pertinent information for you to have for whatever that means to you. So like the other side of that is just like, it's not hard to give credit where it came from. Like there's a lot of people that want to take somebody else's stuff. Not necessarily like intellectual, but like maybe like they just want to take it and teach it, which is all fine. But like, let people know, like, I didn't invent this. This was taught to me by this person, and this is why it works for them. Why this works for me is because of XYZ. What I need you to understand as a student is how does you take my experience and like Cody's experience combine that with what your experience may be or may not be, and package that in a way that like you can use this. And maybe you can't use it. And if you can't use it, that's fine. But we've got to come to like some middle ground of like, what do you need? And we've also got to be like truthful with ourselves and say like, well, maybe that's not me. Right. I can't do that for you. I don't have that experience. Like if you've never entered Windows for search, you probably shouldn't be teaching entering Windows to search. Just going to put that out there. Like you might have taken a class and someone showed you how to do it, and that's great. And you're trying to pass on that information, but just say that. Yeah. Just say, I personally have never done this. However, I took this class. But then again, if you have personally never done it, maybe you just talk about the skill and don't teach the skill. Yeah.
You know? I'm just pretty much echoing what you guys said. I think that's, there's definitely challenges, and there's I kind of term them as climbers. They will climb over your back to be, you know, I don't know, social media popular. They'll literally sometimes sell their souls because they either they need it or they think they're going to get something out of this by, you know, teaching. And sometimes, again, if I don't know it, I don't teach it. You know, if you ask me some hazmat shit, I'm going to say, I got a guy. If you ask me some thermal imager, I say, I can show you some real basic shit. And then I'm going to give you to Andy Starnes and his team. So I think that's part of it for me, is that I do see guys doing classes. I'm like, no, you've never, and you know, we know who's done it. And we know who hasn't done it. But, you know, Lee, I agree with you. If you haven't done it, you shouldn't probably be teaching it. And that's just, you know, my opinion. I think it's unfortunate that does go on, where I've seen literally my slides show up in somebody else's program. I'm like, oh, dude, at least say courtesy of, you know, before you just say, I mean, there was pictures from a fire I was at. Like, oh, yeah, and this, I was like, he has no clue because he wasn't there. So, you know, those things go on. I don't even get mad. I know I got buddies that just lose their shit about this. I don't even get mad, because you can have every slide I have, because you still got to have the context behind it.
Well, that's it, right? You got to have the context and the experience. Yeah. Like when people ask me for my PowerPoint, I go, I can give it to you. Mm-hmm. Well, one, you're not me, so this program is going to be very different. Two, I would highly encourage you that you create your own. Like if you want the survey information, you know, or the studies from FSRI or whatever, like I give all that to you, whatever. But if you just want the program so that you can go out and teach it and be like, hey, look what I'm teaching, then you're not doing anybody any favors. Like you're actually hurting the fire service more than you're helping it, as much as you may not see that, because you're missing the context of what that conversation is actually about. And I think that's where we're at sometimes in the fire service, is people are just so excited. They make a program. They're like, well, it's all the same information. No, you know, nothing in the fire service is proprietary. Fine. Say that all you want. But when you get up and you're teaching skills, or you're teaching a lecture in front of a group of people, you better be able to be comfortable with being challenged, because firefighters are smart and they're going to see through BS, man. And if you don't know why you came to the conclusion you came to, or you just haven't taken the time to truly understand that material, one, it's not going to be good for you. And two, it's not good for the fire service. That's what hurts the outside training image. Mm-hmm. That's why people go, no, we're not doing that, because that's garbage. Yeah. And we're trying to prevent that, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
I think both of you, go ahead, Todd.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think both of you hit the nail on the head with, and I mean, I've been in both your classes and I do the same thing, is just giving credit of where something came from. It's not like there's many things new in the fire service at this point. I mean, we're all teaching the same thing. It's just bringing your experience to it. So to me, it's as long as you have the experience with it, because the biggest part about most of the stuff we do is the decision making behind it. So if you just throw out a skill, but you can't answer the question because you don't have experience with it of why you did it or what went into that decision making, you're really failing somebody. But it's really not hard to say, I learned this from so-and-so. And even, I mean, I do it all the time with Ray McCormack's stuff. our SOGs literally have changed to mimic stuff they do in New York City in certain situations. And it's in our SOGs. It is exactly how we operate. And if I teach a class, I say, hey, I learned to tie off the hose when we do a well hole stretch this way. And that's why we do this. We learned that from Ray McCormack. It's not hard to just give credit to who gave it to you. And they're probably not the creator of it either. They learned it from somebody and they're doing the same thing. But it does, to me, it gives credibility to, again, if they ask a question I don't have the answer to, they know who to go get the answer from, or I'll go get it from that person for them. But to me, and everyone says that, like as Sean said, taking people's stuff, it's all the same in reality. The information's the same. Stretching a line is this way. Doing a search, for the most part, it's your experience behind it and what I can teach you from the experience. We saw this, so we did this, or I felt this, so we did this. But when you have the skill itself, if it is something you learn from somebody, it's really not hard. And to me, it actually gives you more credibility to say, I learned this from Todd Edwards. I learned this from Steve Robertson. I mean, not a big deal to do that. And to me, it honestly, if I'm taking your class, it gives you more credibility than if you're just teaching it, trying to say, you came up with it. Telling me where you got it from gives you a lot of credibility, because I can vet that information even more now of, okay, I can look at and look into it. If I have more questions, I have more people to go to figure it out of how does it translate to us. And I just wanted to highlight that. You guys both said it, and I didn't want to get kind of just gone over in the conversation that if you are out there teaching, there's nothing wrong with telling people where you got information from. It actually helps them even more.
Yeah, because they can, again, one of the things that Sean said, if you're BSing, this little device here, they can research you real quick. It don't take long to find out who's bullshitting you. And I tell guys all the time, vet everything I tell you. If you're not comfortable with something, vet me during the class. I don't care. I'm not going to tell you anything that I don't know to be fact, obviously. If I'm off by a percentage or something, I apologize, but I reference fire rescue survey all the time. I reference FSRI studies all the time, all the numbers, dude, I didn't invent all that. There's people a hell of a lot smarter than we are doing these studies, but I think our job as an instructor sometimes is share information that others have given us, and they've given it to all of us. If you know how to use a keyboard, you can find out all the same information I'm delivering to you. I'm still actually a little amazed sometimes at how many guys don't know what some of these things are. I just was, like I said, I was down there in North Carolina, and when I asked about, we were doing some search stuff, and I asked who knows about firefighter rescue survey, and one hand went up. So I immediately, hey, this is where you guys need to go check this site out. Understand this is where we're finding people. This is how we're finding them. This is where we're finding them, who's finding them, what time, and all these little factors that can help drive your training and your policies and your procedures. So I think those are all. I recommend you try it. Try doing a micro conference. I recommend you try to start up your own group. Just, surround yourself with the right people, man. And don't hesitate to call bullshit where it's bullshit. Because there's bullshit out there. There's true bullshit out there. Bet guys. If you don't know, ask some other guys. I won't bash anybody, but I'll tell you if I think it's bullshit. For sure. I mean, let's just say, and I'd hope somebody would tell you if they asked you about me, hey, Edwards is full of shit. Well, that's fine. I
don't go finish. I don't want to cut you off.
But yeah, those are the things I really recommend when we talk about these conferences and companies and all that. A lot of incredible guys out there. There truly are some incredible guys out there doing some incredible things. I'm always excited to be at those sites because I'm always trying to pick up something new. Going, man, I didn't know how to do this, or that's a better way of doing that. And I tell students all the time, if your instructor tells you this is the only way to throw a ladder, this is the only way to do a drag, this is the only way to do a search, this is the only way to pull hose, run. That guy's an idiot. There's 1,000 ways to stretch hose. There's 1,000 different ways to do a lot of this job, but there's not just one way. And what works for me may not work for Sean, and vice versa. What works for Sean may not work for me.
I think it's important to know.
Yeah. So those are some of the things I was saying as you guys were talking. I thought it was just spot on with everything that we're saying today.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I know we're probably pressed on time, but I will say that keep your ego out of it. You know, when you're teaching or instructing and someone's like, somebody taught me this, the worst thing you do is like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Oh God, yes.
You know, so ask questions, because we're learners too, right? Like maybe there's something that we have overlooked. Like I learned so much from students just sharing things with me, then they probably learned from me, you know, like, and that's the true beauty in the teaching, is that like, hey, I'm going to tell you what little bit I do know, but I 100% take away more out of those classes by one, watching students, and two, listening to them. Right. So when someone comes to you and says, well, someone showed me how to do this, the first question should be like, okay, does it work for you? Well, no, I'll show you my way, and then we'll evaluate both. Yeah. Both have pros and cons, right? Here's the pro to what you were shown. Maybe your arms are smaller and you can't really focus on getting around, you know, those legs for this drag or whatever the case is. Here's the pros to doing it this other way. What I want you to do is try them both. And maybe in that process, you develop your own way.
Yeah.
And when that happens, then that's what you teach other people, because now you have a different piece to be able to show people. Like victim drags, I make everybody do it left-handed and right-handed, because I'm like, listen, when we're doing searches and we're finding victims, they're not going to always be presenting the same way.
Right.
Head first, feet first, face down. Like there's many things. But once we transition to this leg drag, if I only teach you how to do this right-handed because I myself am right-handed, I failed you. I've got to be able to show you to do it left-handed, because you may have to. But most importantly, if you are going to show this skill to people, you must know how to do this both ways, because not everybody in this world is right or left-handed.
Yep.
Like, so those are the things that I would urge people to consider when teaching stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that like the host stuff, and I won't be doing some of that this week with some of the guys, but I'm amazed that, you know, people trying to, I recently saw somebody trying to claim like they're the ones that kind of invented the modified minute man. I was like, are you kidding me, bro? I tell students now, I said, listen, if you hear this, I'm telling you, it's bullshit. I started using a version of a modified Minuteman when I was 16 years old. So it's been around forever. It has been around forever, but so many great guys like Brian Brush and Steve Robertson and hundreds of others, Atlanta Fire, we've all tweaked it a little bit here and there. And I think where we're at today, the way we load today, we just changed in the last 3 months, and we kind of got that vibe from some students we were teaching. They asked some great questions like, that question's so good, we're going to look at this, and made another change to it, simply based on listening and letting the students. I want the student feedback. I tell every class when we're doing hands-on, this isn't my class, this is our class, and we're going to work together, and we're going to learn from each other, good, bad, and indifferent, man. And when we leave here, we're all going to be better. And that's always the main goal of mine. And I love when I have those little ha-ha moments of, holy shit, I've never seen it that way before. Those are really cool moments as an instructor. And it's even cooler when I had two kids come to me on Saturday and say, I've never been shown how to do that before.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Todd.
No, I was saying that now you can make it better, brother. You can make it better for your job when you go home.
Yeah, it's two things: is constant evaluation, constant evolution. Like that's what we're looking for, right? Yep. Like if we can do that as students and instructors, we're going to win every single time. Because things change. And when things change, we have to adapt to it. And like maybe something we taught this year or we learned this year, in 3 or 4 years from now, not that it's bad, but maybe we've learned more things and we have to tweak that a little bit, right? Yeah. And that's really the ultimate goal, is coming back and circling back and saying, hey, this is what we thought we know. It's still very good. This is what we know now. And in that process, we've evolved to this Minuteman or whatever this is to look like this. And here's the reasons why. Give it a shot. Like it, don't like it, that's okay. But at least you have the basis of how we went from point A to point B.
Right. 100%. I think we've been very lucky that Rowett's only had to go deal with sick kids once or twice. My dogs are both sitting there still snoring underneath my feet. So that's a positive on my end. And Sean, I am sure that you have 42 text messages pending as we're sitting here. So I want to do our wrap. This is how we always wrap up, Sean. Kind of like closing thoughts on the subject or closing thoughts on anything you want to give us today. And that's how we're going to wrap things up. I'm going to let Rowett do his closing first just in case he gets yanked by a kid again.
My biggest thing would be, based on what we talked about today, if you're trying to do something for your local area and bring a training in, don't be afraid of it because of, the negative that can come with it. The reason you're doing it is good. The reason you're doing it is trying to have a positive impact. And if you can have a positive impact on a handful of people, especially if they turn out being from your community where you live or your job, it's a win. So I would still try to do it. Before doing it, I would reach out to people that have already done it and try to figure it out. Because there's a lot of benefit to it. There is some tough sides to it. Like we said, logistics, we all hit on is tough. Sean hit on it, the budget part. You get yourself in a hole real quick trying to do it if you don't have support or you haven't really planned it out and figured out what your true costs of doing it are going to be. And then, but I wouldn't shy away from it. I would just get some resources first and get your questions answered before you dive right into it. But don't shy away from doing something to help your community or your department get better. Just find the way to do it to where you don't set yourself up to where you get a bad attitude and now you're burned out on it because you tried to do something good without the information you needed. And whether, you got yourself in a hole, you lost money, that ended up being your personal finances to try to do something to benefit other people. So just plan it right, get your questions answered first. And it turns out to be a success, and it's rewarding when you do something local and you see the impact. So don't shy away from it, but just get your answers first.
I love that. I think two things. You got to be flexible as an instructor. You got to be flexible if you're going to host a small conference. Don't be surprised by the surprises because there's going to be surprises. There's going, and I remember one when Sean was talking to, I don't know why I remember this. I think we were doing AV check, and the AV projector that Sean had gone out on his own purchase, and it was awesome, was so small it wasn't bright enough to project in this giant room. I was like, oh my God. I went to Staples or someplace and I bought, on a credit card, a $1,200 projector. We used it. The next morning I returned that shit too. So but be flexible, be ready for surprises, man. As an instructor, you got to be able to go with the flow and the punches and the changes. We always have, I know I drive my guys nuts because I'm in the middle of a class, something will come to my, oh damn, let's do this. And they're like, God dang it. And, so they're used to me pivoting constantly because I come up with ideas. A lot of times I'll have a very well-written training plan. I have one for next week, and I guarantee I'll have 400 scrabbles on it by the end of the day. Because oh, no, let's do this instead. So got to be flexible, got to be creative, got to have a really good imagination to make this thing flow. And I'd say the only other thing I would tell everybody, whether you're going to go teach, if you're starting to teach, starting a conference, whatever you're going to do, surround yourself with the right people. Surround yourself with the right people, man, whether you're teaching with them or whatever. If you're with guys that their only goal is to drink beer and bash other instructors and bash other people, those guys are assholes. Run. Don't hang out with that dude. I'm telling you, it'll give you a bad name. It'll give your conference a bad name, and you'll come off looking like a jerk. And don't forget, you have, the guys who are married and have kids, let your family be involved, man. One of the coolest things is Kathy helps manage all this mess for me. Because I couldn't do it without her, telling me I'm dumb, because that's like every other conversation. You can't do that. You can't afford to pay that much money for that piece of equipment, So yeah, you got to keep your families involved. And because if you isolate them, then it becomes even more issues that you have to deal with. And I know Sean, I know Sean's wife, I know Ashley, I know Rowett's wife, and she may not be at the sites, but I know that she gets a free trip to Target every time Rowett goes teach. So she's all on board because she knows it's going to be a Target trip somewhere on the road there. Sean, your closing remarks, and we'll let you get out of here, man. I know you're super busy, brother. I want to tell you thank you now so I don't forget for taking time out of your crazy schedule this week.
I've got to call all these people back.
No, I didn't call you. I looked you this morning.
Listen, one thing at a time, right? That's prioritize. I would say, just don't let anybody steal your passion. This is probably, when it comes to teaching and putting on an event, like one of the most rewarding things you can have probably in your career is to organize this thing, watch it go down, and then see the benefits after. When everybody's like shaking your hand, thank you so much. And like you're getting the evals and you're reading it and you're seeing things like best training I've ever had or whatever they put in there. That's the end goal, right? Like that's the result. Don't get discouraged by the people that might put negative stuff, because there's always going to be those people. You're still doing something good. And I would say that you're probably still doing more than they are. And that's not meant to be negative. That's just meant to keep you on track, that like this is your vision and your goal for a reason. Stick with it. And you know what, to be honest, like you might fail and that's okay. Like take what you've learned, regroup, get after it again. But the biggest thing I'm going to tell anybody is don't go too big too fast. Okay. Like you got to keep it manageable, and trust me, I know it gets exciting to be like, oh, well, we can do this and we can do so much more. Well, with so much more comes so much more responsibility. Right. Exactly. So, keep it small for a little bit. Like there's no shame in that. Your value isn't any less because you have 25 people at a training event or 250. Right. So like what makes the value of the training is the content that you're able to deliver. Right. That's where your focus needs to be. Not, oh, well, we're just a small thing. We only have 25, 50 people. Who cares?
Yeah, that's great.
Who cares? Like easy enough. It's good to manage, and you grow it as the need grows and you're able to grow. And if you're not able to commit to that growth, don't do it.
No,
that's my advice.
I think it's spot on, man. So we're going to let you get off of here, and we're going to shut down the recording and everything. Thanks to everybody who joined in or listened to this. I hope you got a little bit of that. Maybe if nothing else, we gave you some food for thought. Definitely go ahead and start planning next year to come up to Michigan. Beautiful area of the country, some great facilities. They're doing a great job. Come south, you can come down to Fairhope on the, right down there in a really, really cool little town with a lot of cool little bars and a brand new training facility. So I'm super excited about this spring to get down there and play in that new building. So we thank everybody, and we will see you next month. Thank you.